August is coming in hot. This is a month for passion and play, but you want to be careful not to burn yourself out. Hello, my name is Kari Samuels, your intuitive counselor and happiness coach with your August forecast. Before we look at August astrology, let's look back at last month's astrology and numerology because we are in Mercury retrograde still until August 11th. And you were probably feeling a lot of that. I cannot tell you how many people messaged me last month and were like, what is going on? What's happening? Why is everything like going awry? Why are people acting like this? And I'm always like, I made a whole video about this. So you may want to look at this video, watch this video halfway through the month to remind you about what's happening and how to manage it. You maybe want to look at last month's video because it's still a little bit relevant now. There was a lot that happened last month and I want to remind you of it as we're in this retrograde. It's always the RE word. So I'm going to remind you what we talked about because some of it's still playing out and it's very relevant to what's happening. Mercury is retrograde and we begin with a Kazemi the first day of the month. A Kazemi is when something is conjunct the sun. So Mercury is like connecting with the sun is like a wake-up call to remind you of like what is really happening in your mind. We're in Mercury retrograde in Leo, so it's about reconnecting with your passions, reconnecting with your heart. We're also in Leo season, so it's like Leo is always about radiating your light and having confidence and creativity and connecting with deep passions. And so during Mercury retrograde in Leo, which again we are in until the 11th of this month, you are discovering what is truly burning as a desire inside of you, your true passions, your true radiance, your true courage. And so things that you were not really acknowledging, things that you weren't recognizing were coming to light, especially since last month, the numerology was a 16-7 universal month. We get that by adding the month to the year. And that's a karmic number, which gives you wake-up calls about things that you haven't been recognizing. So you may have experienced people or circumstances suddenly like not living up to your expectations, or your trust has been almost, you may have felt betrayed in some ways by either people or the universe itself. Like, why aren't things working out? That was a lot because of the numerology, which also correlates with Uranus and Gemini. Uranus stays in a sign for 8 years. And so Uranus just went into Gemini, and if you remember, I said we will probably have earthquakes because when Uranus changes signs, there typically seems to be earthquakes because Uranus is about shaking things up. And it just moved out of Taurus, which is the earth itself, and into Gemini. And we're going to be in this for 8 years, sort of, because Uranus is going to retrograde back into Taurus at the end of this year and then go fully into its 8-year cycle beginning February next year. But we're getting a taste of it. This year is all about getting a sense of what these new planetary energies are and these big changes that are happening because all the outer planets changing signs. And this year is a lot about letting go because we're in a 9 universal year. And next year is a 1 universal year. And that is when all the planets really fully go into their new signs. This year they go into their new signs and then they go back and retrograde into the signs that they've been in. So we have this coming and going energy. A lot of this year is like, I want to do this new thing and yet I feel like I still need to wrap up this other stuff. And that's a lot of what's happening this year and a lot of what's happening this month. Even though this is an 8 universal month, you're still going to be reevaluating things and letting things go. But let's talk about that 8 universal month. 8 is a number of passion and power and abundance. There's a lot of myth around this though, because oh my goodness, just like with everything, astrology, also numerology, there's like all this stuff on the internet that's just like very superficial. It's like, have an 8 everywhere you go and you'll have abundance everywhere. Well, let me tell you something. 8 is a lot like the planet Jupiter in a lot of ways, that expands everything it touches, right? So when 8 is activated, it expands your feelings, it expands your heart energy. In fact, Leo, which is the season we're in, the sun is in Leo until the 22nd. Leo governs your heart. 8 is about opening up your heart to your passions. And it's your passions that create abundance and prosperity when you are following your heart. However, the 8 can expand things to show you where you're really kind of going in the wrong direction. 8 is associated with big wins and big losses. And 8 teaches you about the regenerative cycle of the universe. So you're up, you're down, but you could get back up again. And everything in the universe is cycles. And please remember that, because we are in a really nutty cycle on the planet right now. And we have to remember that everything is in cycles. And so with these outer planets changing signs, there is a destruction of a lot of old ways that we've come accustomed to. However, new energies are emerging, and Uranus in Gemini is all about new ways of communication and transportation, right? So all of this is going to be elevated this year. And of course, you see the shadow and the light expanded. So this is a month especially where everything can feel larger than life. And 8 is also associated with politics and politicians. And so we're also in Leo season, so there's going to be a lot of drama. Leo tends to be really good at drama. I know I've had Leos write to me and they're like, stop saying that. Stop saying that Leos are dramatic. But I'm like, I'm not saying that if you're a Leo, you are inherently dramatic. I'm just saying that Leo has a flair for drama, and especially on the world stage. So last month, again, I had said there will be shocking revelations where if you thought one thing, then something else could reveal itself. And there certainly have been revelations. So 8 brings about power plays. So this is going to happen on the world stage, but it's also going to happen in your life. Remember, we are in Leo season until the 22nd, and Mercury is retrograde until the 11th. So we're going to have big feelings, big heart, big expression. And this is a time where you are reclaiming, that's part of the retrograde in Leo, reclaiming your power. Meaning that if you project your power onto someone else, if you diminish your power, the universe wants to show you how to allow yourself to be seen and heard and roar like a lion. Take up space. Be yourself. Express your feelings. If you are not doing that consciously, life will happen to bring up those emotions for you. Okay, so pay attention. Pay attention to how you feel. The sun goes into Virgo on the 22nd. We're going to have a very different first and second half of the month because things start to really move forward more readily and with more momentum after the 11th when Mercury goes direct. And thank goodness you can sign your contracts, you can move forward with your plans, and you won't have all these setbacks. However, we're still in the shadow, which is the integration period. And next month is eclipse season. So eclipses also bring up a lot from the shadow, from the unconscious. So even though you're integrating and Mercury's going direct, we're going to see a lot of things come up as this prequel to eclipse season next month. So there's still a lot of this coming up to surprise you type of energy happening. But things do speed up after the 11th. And then the 22nd, we go into Virgo season. Happy birthday, fellow Virgos, and happy birthday, Leos. And right after that, we have a new moon on the 23rd. Now that new moon in Virgo is at 0 degrees. And we have another new moon eclipse next month at 29 degrees. These are mastery numbers. The beginning and end of a sign are like really elevated, really larger than life again. So Virgo is something to pay attention to. Virgo themes toward the end of the month, which are like, how do you want to be of service in the world? How do you want to pursue your passions? What practical steps can you take to make your dreams come true? And that's something to listen to and pay attention to and set your intentions for at that very powerful 0 degree Virgo new moon on the 23rd of this month. And that's part of why we've had these retrogrades. We've had these retrogrades to wake you up to what's working and what isn't, to wake you up to what you really want to pursue and what you don't anymore. Really pay attention to that. So on that new moon at 0 degrees, this number of wholeness and possibility. 0 is not nothing, it's everything. It's the seed of possibilities. So on that new moon, set your intention for practical steps for you to pursue your dreams, for you to make your passions come alive, for you to be healthy. One of the things that Virgo teaches you is how to maintain healthy habits. So you want to pursue your dreams and your passions without getting burnt out and without giving away too much of yourself. You want to make sure it's reciprocal. And that's another thing that the 8 teaches you. We're in this 8 universal month. It's heaven and earth in balance. It's also like giving and receiving in equal measure. It's about regeneration. So that is true prosperity. That is true abundance. When you are living your purpose, living with passion, allowing yourself to play and pray, and to make sure that you are regenerating your energy, you are giving and receiving in abundance. Receiving in abundance and giving. You got that? So with that, I have 3 action steps that are going to help you through this month. Your first action step is to pursue your passions. Some people say to me, they don't know what their passions are. Well, if that's the case, I suggest that you play and are more creative, because your creativity will always lead you to creating a better life for yourself and others. That's why the creator, Great Spirit, is called the creator, right? Play for playing sake. Play to have fun. The lions, right? 8 in the tarot is the lions, and Leo is the lion, and lions work and they hunt, but they rest and they're creative and they're playful. Allow yourself to have joy in what you're doing. And if something doesn't feel joyful, figure out a way to make it joyful and to let go of what doesn't feel joyful. And you may be getting downloads about creative things that you want to do, like maybe you want to even garden or cook or play around with that. That's creative. Maybe you want to take a class in something and learn something new. Do it for the joy of it. And I promise, as you do things for fun and joy, your passion and your purpose will follow that lead. And your second action step is to amp up the volume. Allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to take up space. So many empaths especially shrink up. They don't want to be a bother. They don't want to shine too brightly because they don't want to have other people feel bad. You may be doing this subconsciously. So what you can do is literally imagine your light radiating bigger, brighter, and bigger and brighter and bigger and brighter. I have some free meditations you can use. I'll link to some below. But allow yourself to really imagine yourself like a light bulb. You can have your aura around you that's protected, but the light still emanates bigger and brighter beyond the boundaries of your aura. Remember to roar, take up space, allow yourself to be seen. So imagine yourself when you're walking around that you are this beautiful light, because you are, that makes the world more beautiful everywhere you go. That's very Leo. So imagine yourself bringing joy and light like the sun everywhere you go, like your presence is a blessing, because it is. So practice that. Allow yourself to take up space. If you're a kind of person that's always apologizing, make sure you are not apologizing anymore. You don't need to apologize for yourself. Allow yourself to be and to breathe and expand and shine as the beautiful being that you are. And your third action step is to accept your uncomfortable emotions. One of the things that the 8 teaches us is that there are emotions that are activated within you that you may have buried, and then to fully express them is to be authentic. To fully use your voice and be authentic. Again, the universe is going to teach you how to do this, so you want to be doing this consciously. Spiritual people especially, some things that we tend to do is like, someone hurts us, we forgive them before processing our emotions, because we know it's like, well, the spiritual thing to do is to forgive this person even though they hurt me. But maybe you didn't process your feelings. So pay attention to that. Maybe you don't have good feelings about someone. Pay attention to that. That is your intuition. We're taught that it's judgmental not to have good feelings about people or to think poorly of someone. That could be your intuition. It doesn't mean you have to berate them or even like think that they're a terrible person. But if something doesn't feel right to you, if someone doesn't feel right to you, you have to acknowledge that. You have to pay attention to how you feel, because that's your intuition as well. Maybe you have shame or grief or anger or jealousy. All of those things, all of those emotions are still inside of you, and you're allowed to have them. So as you allow yourself to fully honor, accept, and express your feelings, if you have bad feelings towards someone, you don't need to share it with them directly, unless it's someone you have a close relationship with and you need to clear the air, then I suggest you do. But maybe write in a journal about how you really feel, so you get it out of your system. Maybe you want to write a letter to someone or something, or yourself, about something you feel ashamed about or grief or jealous, whatever it is. Allow yourself to acknowledge that, feel that, and then you can let that move through you. That's being authentic. And when you allow yourself to express the fullness of who you are, that is when your passions can emerge and you can live with a full heart. And that is what this month is teaching you. I also have so much to share with you, so remember to sign up for my newsletter. You can find that at karisamuels.com. And if you want to try soul healing sessions, we're going to be exploring these power dynamics that you have between anyone in your life, and I'm going to help you through that. I'm going to help you reconnect with your true passion and creativity. You want to explore that, you can do that for just $1. You can try it at karisamuels.com/soul healing sessions. And if you have a Leo in your life or a Virgo that you want to buy a birthday present for, or you want to buy something for your radiant self, you can go to my new fabulous enchantedSky.com, where you can find t-shirts and so much more for your loved ones. I love you so much, and I am wishing you an amazing August and beyond. Lots of love. Bye for now.